Hello everyone and welcome back to Navis Nobilite. I am Captain Zelnick and we are gonna talk about the Dark Eldar special rules and their fleet list. And for such a small fleet, they have a lot of special rules, so bear with me. I am so sorry about how long this video is gonna take, and I'm sorry if I make any mistakes. There's just a lot to go over because they couldn't just compress it all into something simple. Okay, so let's talk about Dark Eldar movement. They're advanced and fancy, but they have normal-ish engines. Dark Eldar do not have to pass a command check to do come to new heading special orders, and count as automatically passing any command check to do so, just like the Orcs automatically pass all ahead full. Also, Dark Eldar cruisers have no minimum required movement even before turning, but are unable to use burn retros. So you can't go slow, you gotta go fast, and you have no minimum movement. This is ridiculous, and deal with it. All Eldar ships still fall under the restriction that a ship moves less than 5 centimeters. It counts as a defense for shooting purposes. So bear that in mind. Now, admittedly, you still have the Shadow Field defense, which will shift it out of there, but it's still something you have to take into consideration. Now, Dark Eldar leadership, like the rest of the Eldar, they add +1 to the leadership score because they're Eldar and they don't care. They can make a leadership check to ignore all effects of celestial phenomena like gas clouds, solar flares, and escorts can reroll this for free. The ability only applies to celestial phenomena, not explosions from catastrophic damages or nova cannons. It also does not affect negative leadership modifiers caused by radiation bursts. This is pretty normal. Leadership checks against asteroid fields are unchanged from other fleets, no surprises there. Now, boarding actions. The Dark Eldar love to get really, really high and go in full roid rage, but the problem is, after the roids wear off, they kind of go into withdrawal. So they get a +1 modifier in the first round of any boarding action and a -1 modifier in any subsequent round. They are very, very mean, but they are squishy. Shadow fields. These are just basically hollow fields. There's no change to those rules. So all of this is unnecessary. They should have just said same as hollow fields. Okay, hit and run attacks. Dark Eldar receive a +1 to any hit and run attacks, including those from Slavebringer assault boats, just like Space Marines in that regard, but excluding the Impaler. Now, slave taking. This is a fun little rule. Slave taking may be performed instead of any hit and run attack, including teleporter or Impaler attacks. This reflects the desire for the Dark Eldar to take captives, even when to do so is tactically foolish. They may forego rolling the hit and run critical hit table in return for 10 additional victory points. When using Impalers, collect 30 victory points instead of 10. Brace saves may be taken against slave taking, and it cannot be conducted against Necron or Tyranid fleets, because what the hell is the point of taking a Tyranid or a Necron as a slave? Any escort-sized ship, in addition to considered to be destroyed if 30 or more victory points are collected from it by slave taking. So if you slap it with 3 hit and run attacks from the assault boats or 1 impaler. The Mimic Engine. This is where things get weird. The Mimic Engine works against Imperial, Eldar, Orc, Chaos, or Tau, but not Tyranid or Necron because these two don't care. A Dark Eldar ship equipped with Mimic engines approaches closer to the enemy before the threat is realized. So may make one normal move immediately after deployment, but before either side has taken a turn. In effect, you get to move before the game begins. That's ridiculous for the Dark Eldar, because they're all about getting close. In addition, if a Mimic engine-equipped vessel is more than 30 centimeters from the enemy at the start of the game, after making its extra move, it may not be targeted by enemy ships at all during the first turn of the game until it itself has attacked another vessel, or launches any ordnance that attacks enemy ordnance or ships. If its ordnance does not attack during the first turn, enemy ordnance must assume it is friendly and cannot attack it, though enemy ships that move in base contact with it in the first turn will still be attacked normally. In the second and subsequent turns, it is assumed that the exchange of information between the vessels and the opposing fleet will uncover the imposters, meaning the Dark Eldar can be targeted normally. That basically gives you one free full turn of not being shot, allowing you to move into position to make the ideal maneuver and attack for the next upcoming round. Now, Dark Eldar have their own unique critical hits table. I'm going to leave this here so you can read it, get a good understanding of it. It is pretty standard for Eldar level critical hits table. Only things that cause extra damage is the 8. Just bear that in mind. But a lot of this involves knocking down weapons and reducing the speed and maneuverability of the ship. So, moving on. Dark Eldar weapons. Dark Eldar weapons batteries are the same as Eldar. They always count as closing. Phantom lances. These are more efficient than what's it called? Pulsar lances. Instead of rolling and re-rolling and re-rolling, if you hit with a 4, it's 1 hit, but on a 5 and a 6, it's 2 hits. Overall, far more efficient than a Pulsar lance. Ordnance. Dark Eldar ordnance are the same as Eldar ordnance. If you want to shoot it down with turrets, you need a 6. Okay? This applies to all torpedo types, impalers, and mines. When orbital mines are used, they completely replace all other attack craft. No surprises there. Enemy bombers do not get any bonus against turrets from escorting fighters. No surprises there. Same as the Eldar. Now, the attack craft of the Dark Eldar are as follows. You have the Raptor, the Razorwing, and the Slavebringer. The Raptor, just like the Eldar, is resilient. The Razorwing, just like the Eldar, is skilled. So, effectively, these are all the same as Eldar Ordnance. They have the same rules. So that means the Raptor gets a 4-up save, the Razorwing can re-roll its attack numbers, and the Slavebringer is just an assault boat. Now, the Impaler Assault Module, this is where things get weird and fun, especially for the Dark Eldar. They're basically an assault boat, but bigger, practically the size of an escort itself. So it functions when on the board, just like an assault boat. It can be intercepted by enemy fighters, but it is resilient, so it remains in play on a 4-up. It can only be used once. What really matters is when it comes into contact with an enemy ship. When it manages to get into contact with an enemy ship, it has a special hit and run attack. Roll a d6 on a score of 1, the Impaler's borders are defeated and the module may not be used for the remainder of the game. On a 2 through 6, the Impaler causes a critical hit, but instead of just looking up the rolled score in the critical hits table, you roll 2d6 and basically you do a full crit as opposed to a normal crit. Against escorts, this added score needs to be on modified 4+ to automatically destroy the escort. Which means if you're Space Marines, it will still destroy you on a 4+. You do not get your benefit. Against Tyranids, you must roll 2d6 twice and take the lowest roll. The Impalers are far larger than most attack craft and require a huge amount of fuel, which means when you launch them, and if it does not hit at the end of your at the end of the Dark player's turn, they must be removed from the table, which is assumed that they are forced to return to the parent ship due to lack of fuel. In effect, you must move. So it's the beginning of the Eldar player's turn. So you have literally your ordnance phase, then your enemy's ordnance phase to move them, giving you overall 60 centimeters of movement before they have to be turned around. And then, of course, you may reload ordnance again to launch again. Now, you may not launch additional Impalers if you already have a number of Impalers in play. Basically, they apply to launch restrictions. They count as a separate form of launch that is different from normal launch bays. If the Impaler is removed by turrets, enemy ordnance, attack craft, or so on, the Dark Eldar vessel must reload again as normal. Now, when Impalers from an escort squadron are lost, the owning player decides which ship lost the Impaler. What makes these important is effectively it is a way to guarantee a full critical hit on a target. And you can take them on every ship in your fleet. It is ridiculous when you just have an entire squadron of Corsairs with a whole mess of Impalers and watch as you shut down an enemy battleship by just dumping a whole bunch of crits on top of it. Now, the other fun thing, Leech torpedoes. These are a special torpedo that only Dark Eldar get. What happens is when you hit a target, okay, they cause no damage other than a single automatic critical hit. Do not roll against armor. Brace for impact can be used against this normally, and escorts are not automatically destroyed by this critical hit. Do not roll for the effect of the critical hit. Instead, the Leech torpedo immediately causes a minus 10 centimeter speed reduction on its target. A Leech torpedo also prevents the target from executing any all-ahead full special orders. Only one minus 10 centimeter speed penalty applies regardless of the number of attack. The effect is not cumulative, but all Leech hits must be repaired before the movement penalty is removed. Escorts can also repair this effect with a roll of a 6 in the same manner as capital ships. When not firing Leeches, they fire normal torpedoes. No surprises there. You can also take the Eldar Haven if you so desire as a pirate base, if you're playing in a campaign or in a mission involving a pirate base. But the Pulsar Lances are replaced with Shadow Lances. So those are the rules. There are a lot of things here about causing crits and slowing your enemy. Let's have a look at the actual fleet list, because this is all campaign rules. You have the Dark Eldar Pirate Fleet list. No subtlety whatsoever. Have you noticed that? Alright. Command. You have 0 to 1 Dread Archon. You may include 1 Dread Archon in your fleet, who must be assigned to a ship and adds +2 to its leadership to a maximum of 10. If the fleet is worth over 750 points, it must be led by a Dark Archon. No surprises there. He's pretty standard at 100 points. He has no rerolls of his own. You must purchase the rerolls at the listed below. 25 for 1, 50 for 2, 100 for 3. You can take 0 to 12 cruisers. There, of course, the torture, and here are all the points for all of the different weapons and the mimic engines. Again, obviously, this is a build-a-cruiser. You can build them any way that you so desire. The most common are Impalers and launch bays, simply because you can get phantom lances and torpedoes in your escorts. Now, your escorts are, of course, the Corsair class escort, and they come equipped with the weapon that you can take as part of their points value. Note over here, you do not have to take an additional weapon. You can just take a base torture cruiser and not have an additional weapon for more points. Obviously, the ordnance is the same. You can take torpedo tubes with Eldar torpedoes or Leech torpedoes, and you have access to Slavebringers, Raptors, or Razor Wings. So that is the Dark Eldar rules and fleet list. This is designed to be a raiding force. You are meant to, in effect, have a whole swarm of little jerk escorts and a couple of cruisers to support everything with a bunch of assault boats and bombers. So that's the Dark Eldar fleet list and special rules. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll talk to you all again soon.